So hi there, guys. Thanks for inviting me to today's talk. My name's Stephen Port. I'm one of the co-founders and directors at Dapt UK, and we provide services all around the Microsoft 365 space. So we're talking about things like SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, Power Apps, Power Automate, those sorts of features within the Microsoft 365 platform. Today, we're going to be looking at Microsoft Loop, showing some of the components that are within there, some really exciting features coming our way soon, and look forward to giving a good demo on that topic. So Loop is sort of been born from something that was released a while ago. So about 2 years ago, Microsoft announced what's called the Fluid Framework. That was launched or sort of brought to our attention in another Ignite session in 2019. And it's sort of grown now into what's called Microsoft Loop. So it's sort of split between 3 different elements. The first one being Workspaces. So these are shared spaces that will allow us to get with our team or groups, and everything that's important to us on our projects will be able to collaborate in a live way. So not really mattering which application we're using within Microsoft 365, we can actually take those workspaces with us. Within those workspaces, we'll be able to build out pages, so loop pages, and these are flexible pages that grow to match the needs of your organization. Again, there's not much out there yet in terms of a finished product, but we've seen some of the examples in some of the videos that Microsoft have put out at the moment. What is available is one of the last elements to it, so the third element, which are loop components. So these have actually started to roll out now. You can actually access these if you go into public preview on Teams, and they give a good insight into how some of these features will start working. So at the moment, they're only available within Microsoft Teams chats and within the actual Fluid pages themselves. But again, we're going to look to start to see these being rolled out across Microsoft Teams, so channel messaging within Outlook, and then eventually across other Microsoft 365 components as well. Yeah, absolutely. So as mentioned, they're built within the Microsoft Fluid framework. So supported across the entire Microsoft 365 suite, and is controlled from SharePoint Online, so not from Teams themselves, even though Teams is the first place you'll start to notice these. In terms of how you govern them, everything's held within your personal OneDrive for business. So if I create a loop component, for example, what I know right now is that it will actually create a Fluid page or component for me within my OneDrive for business. This will allow me to share with other people, give me the full control over what I have there. In terms of further governance, so the sort of deeper governance that we're going to see, again, it's still very early stages. So we're going to be really interesting to see what happens with workspaces and pages, but I expect it to be in a similar way to Microsoft Teams. Some of the features we have seen at the moment, for example, are if I'm sharing a loop component within a Teams chat, everyone in that chat will have access to that component, so we'll be able to start working on it with me. I'll cover a couple of quick scenarios from Microsoft themselves, actually. So Daniel Vargas has put together a quick blog post from Microsoft with some quick scenarios on how you may utilize loop components within Teams. So one of them being co-authoring, obviously working with your team to find the right words. There's no need to create a whole new document. You can quickly create a text blocks within Microsoft Loop and get everyone adding their comments and thoughts within there, and then take that into a document as and when it's needed. Other ones are things such as status reports. So again, being a real challenge to keep track of work that's constantly changing rapidly, and asking your team to switch between the different applications. So whether it be Microsoft Teams, some people may be in email, some people may be in a Word document, for example, and the ability to create status reports, task lists, all of those sorts of things in a dynamic way can be quite useful. Another one is topic gathering. So again, making sure everyone's working on the same topics. If we're in meetings, being able to put together agendas where everyone, no matter whether they're in the meeting or not, will be able to hook into those loop components and provide agenda updates, assign tasks to each other, all of those sorts of great things. One of the things I have tried out recently is using loop components within breakout rooms within Teams as well. So for example, if I start a meeting, create that loop component, and then push people out into breakout rooms, they can actually, while they're in those breakout rooms, still be contributing to the same loop component. So I'm just going to share my screen and just show what some of the Loop components actually look like as well. So just give me 2 seconds. So you can see here, I'm having a quick conversation with Pauline. So we've just introduced her into the team to have a look at some of the Loop component functionality. One of the quick things just to point out, you'll notice within my profile up here, you'll see a small P at the top there. That's because I am in the public preview, and that's one of the requirements to start testing out Loop components. So that's just something to take note of. Okay, so I can see Pauline's responded to my initial message, and you'll notice down here I've got something called a Loop component. So I can go into here and I can select that, and that will show me some of the live components that I have. So I can start off maybe by adding in a task list. So I can give my task list a name, so Loop ideas. And then once I'm happy with that, I can then just send that as I would do a normal message, and that will actually sync and put that into that live task list for me. I can see that I've edited it. I can also see who has access at any point, and I can also copy links to that should I want to as well. It will take a little while for that to sync up to Pauline's chat as well. So again, because it's sending things back and forth, it will take a little while for people to access that. All I can then do is I can then go into these areas and I can start typing in tasks. So I'll just call them, for example, task 1 for now and task 2, just to keep it nice and simple. I can also assign these to individuals as well. Now, because I've done this within the chat itself, it's already identified the people I can assign it to. So again, it's based on that permissions. It's keeping all of those permissions nice and secure based on those chat conversations that I've got. So I can assign that to Pauline if I wanted to. And I can also select due dates of when I want that to be completed, for example. One of the great things with Loop components is it doesn't just end there. Once I've actually entered that sort of piece of information, I can actually use a couple of different sort of quick launches to launch other elements within there. So I can actually add more components within this fluid page at the moment. So I can do things such as at mention. So I can just go and at mention Pauline and just maybe mention to her, can you this task? Why? If I can give it a due date as well. So go into there, I can select a due date, the 16th, and that will give her the due date of when that's due to be completed, the number of days left, for example, components as well. And once Pauline goes into this, I can see now that she's got this file open. She'll be able to start adding new tasks in there as well. And I can see exactly where she's typing as well. So I can see here she's at the bottom. She can add some text in. She can complete these tasks. She can move tasks around if she needs to. There we are. So I can see this live component happening in real time, which is really useful. So you could think within a typical scenario of a meeting, if I put a loop component like this in, we can actually capture some really useful actions off the back of that meeting, assign them to people all together at the same time. It's not reliant on one person to have to do that. Okay, so what does that look like once that's been created? So actually, if I go over to my OneDrive for Business, within my Microsoft Teams chat files, you'll notice here I've got a couple of different fluid components or fluid pages within there. So I can actually go into that fluid page and that will open it up in my Office 365. And if Pauline still continues to type within the Microsoft Teams chat, this will actually still show within here. So I'll start to see new additions into the tasks. I'll start to see her typing, should she be typing in there. Again, I can do various different things such as agendas, give topics, assign those to people and give them in allotted times as well. So a really useful way to keep track of that. So there I can see Pauline still typing within there. Her little icons just come up. But she's actually working within Microsoft Teams. So it's actually happening in 2 places. Now, the idea bit with this will be, say, for example, I wanted to take this component and put it into an email. I could email this to Pauline, who, she may not have Microsoft Teams at that point in time. She may just have an email, and she can actually start editing those components within the email itself. And obviously over time, Microsoft Word, maybe some other platforms and programs as well. So that's a very quick overview of Loop components. Obviously, there's so much more to come, and definitely worthwhile having a look at some of the Microsoft resources around what's available. As with everything with Microsoft, they take inspiration from other areas. I won't say they take ideas completely from other areas, but it did start from the original Fluid framework. So you can actually access this as well. Go to Microsoft Fluid Framework, and you can actually already, has been around for a while, develop your own Fluid components within here as well. So this is, for a developer point of view, this is a really great place to start. There are some examples as well. You can also do some learning and learn how to get started. I think one of the examples is a dice roller. So this is something that we've been testing out in the background as well. But imagine you wanted to build a game within Microsoft 365, you could actually do something like this and add a dice into there as well. There is other applications that do similar sorts of functionality. So one of them being called Notion. Now that provides us, again, let's say, a similar sort of functionality. It's a great place to go and have a look if you want to think of what the future may be with Microsoft Loop. So in terms of the workspaces, the pages, and those live components. So that really gives a bit of inspiration to see, what the possibilities are. But I think with Microsoft Loop, with the ability to bring it into Microsoft Teams, Outlook, and Microsoft Word documents, for example, it's really going to give quite a lot of power to end users in terms of collaboration and communication.